Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the boring history of sleep because nothing says exciting like a deep dive into how people used to catch some Z's. Picture this: you're huddled in a cave wrapped in animal skins trying to sleep while wondering if that rustling outside is a saber-toothed tiger or just the wind. Fun times, right? And here's a reality check: you probably won't survive this journey through sleep history without yawning at least once. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now drop a comment with your location and local timelets. See how many of us are up past bedtime. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge back to your cave, exhausted from a day of hunting and gathering. The fire is dying down, casting flickering shadows on the rough walls. You curl up on a pile of animal skins trying to get comfortable, but sleep doesn't come easily. Every sound outside makes you jumpus that a predator lurking. You wish you could just close your eyes and drift off, but survival instincts keep you alert. Welcome to Sleep in the Stone Age. Unlike today, where your biggest worry might be forgetting to charge your phone early, humans had to contend with real dangers while trying to rest. They didn't have the luxury of a cozy bed or even a proper shelter, just a cold, hard cave floor and whatever bedding they could scrounge together from nature. Animal hides leaves maybe a bit of grass if they were lucky. Comfort wasn't exactly a priority when staying alive was the main goal. But early humans might have been smarter about sleep than we think. They likely didn't all sleep at the same time. Instead, they probably took turns keeping watch, ensuring that someone was always alert to danger. This communal approach wasn't just about safety, it might have strengthened social bonds too. Imagine you and your fellow cave dwellers rotating shifts, trusting each other to keep the group safe. It's almost heartwarming in a primal sort of way. And here's a little joke for you: they didn't need alarm clocks back then. The sun was their wake-up call, and it never let them oversleep unless, of course, they were eaten by a bear in the night. No snooze buttons, no excuses, just pure, unfiltered nature telling them when to rise. Fast forward a few thousand years, and sleep starts to evolve. In ancient Mesopotamia, you're lying on a mat made of woven reeds, trying to ignore the itchiness. Your bed is low to the ground, and you're using a rolled-up cloth as a pillow. It's not exactly luxury, but it's a step up from a cave floor. Mesopotamians were among the first to create dedicated sleeping spaces, even if those spaces were just a corner of a mud brick house. They knew sleep mattered, even if they didn't have the science to explain it. And here's a mainstream historical fact: the oldest known mattress dates back to around 77,000 years ago, found in a cave in South Africa. Made of layers of reeds and grasses, it wasn't plush, but it showed that even back then, people cared about how they slept. Now let's drift over to ancient Egypt, where sleep gets a bit fancier. You're reclining on a wooden bed with a headrest, not a fluffy pillow, but a curved piece of wood or stone to cradle your neck. It's supposed to protect your hairstyle or keep bugs away from your face. Comfort, highly questionable, but the Egyptians were practical. And if it meant waking up with your wig still perfect, you'd probably deal with it. Their beds were elevated off the ground, which was a game-changerless dirt, fewer critters, and a slight reprieve from the desert heat. And here's a quirky tidbit: some ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, believed sleeping with your head pointing north could boost your health and longevity. No proof it worked, but it's a fun thought. Maybe they thought the pyramids were beaming good vibes their way. Oh, and speaking of Egyptians, here's joke number two. They might have invented the first cat naps. With all that cat worship, maybe they were just copying their feline gods, sneaking in a quick snooze whenever they could. In ancient Greece, sleep starts feeling a little more like home. You're lounging on a couch that doubles as a bed, padded with wool or feathers and draped with a blanket. You might even have a footstool to keep your feet warm. The Greeks loved comfort, and their sleeping setups showed it. But they also saw sleep as more than just rest. It was a time for dreams, which they believed carried messages from the gods. So while you're snoozing on your cushy couch, you might be getting divine insights or just drooling over that leftover baklava. Either way, sleep was sacred, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. And here's joke number three. Those Greek couches were so comfy people might have slept through Socrates' big debates. Imagine him ranting about reality while half the room is snoring tough crowd. But here's an open scholarly debate to chew on. Did ancient people sleep in one long stretch like we aim for now, or in chunks? Some evidence points to biphasic sleep, two separate snoozes with a break in between. Picture this. You go to bed at sunset, sleep a few hours, then wake up in the dead of night. You tend the fire chat with family, maybe even visit a neighbor. Then you crawl back into bed until dawn. To us, it sounds like a nightmare, but for them, it was normal. Without late night TV or doom scrolling, what else were they going to do? Historians still bicker over how common this was, and it's one of those mysteries that keeps the past feeling just out of reach. So that's your peek into the dawn of sleep. From cave floors to reed mats to wooden beds with neck-aching headrests, the way you rest has come a long way. But the need to shut down, recharge, and maybe dream of something bigger, that's as old as humanity itself. As you drift off tonight, think about those early sleepers huddled in caves or sprawled on couches, and maybe be grateful. Your biggest sleep problem is a lumpy pillow. You're lying on a thin futon, the tatami mat beneath you giving off a faint, earthy whiff of dried grass. The room's bare sliding paper doors, a low table shoved in the corner, and that's it. Outside, a temple bell hums softly in the distance, a slow, lazy clang that feels like it's coaxing you to sleep. Welcome to ancient Japan, where you're sleeping close to the ground with just a tiny pillow propping up your head. It's not luxurious, but there's a calm to it, a simplicity that roots you to the moment. You wonder if this minimalist setup actually helps you doze off or if it's just cultural hype. Here's a little joke to chew on. In ancient Japan, they didn't have bedtime stories. They had futon fables. Probably not true, but it's a cute thought, right? Now let's drift somewhere else, ancient Rome, where you're sprawled on a lectus, a fancy couch that doubles as a bed and a dining spot. You're half reclining, popping grapes into your mouth while someone fans you with a palm leaf. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but the Romans did love their multitasking furniture. Their beds come with cushions, blankets. The work's comfort was key. Here's the twist, though they often shared them. In cramped households, you might be bunking with a couple of roommates, one of whom snores like a chariot crashing through a wall. No wonder they invented the toga, probably to stuff in their ears. You try to picture it. You wedged between two sweaty Romans praying for dawn. Next stop, the Amazon rainforest. You're swaying in a hammock, strung between two trees. The jungle alive around you, crickets, buzzing leaves, whispering a monkey, hollering somewhere far off. Hammocks aren't just for Instagram-worthy naps. For many indigenous tribes, they're the sleep MVP. They lift you off the damp ground, dodge the bugs, and that gentle rock. It's like nature's lullaby. Plus, they're easy to pack up when you're on the move. Joke number 2. Incoming hammocks were the original sleep pods. No Silicon Valley startup required just some rope and a good knot. But sleep isn't always about solitude. Picture yourself with a Himba people of Namibia huddled around a dying fire. You're wrapped in animal skins, the night sky sprawling overhead like a cosmic blanket. The Himba sleep in groups, grandparents, kids, everyone together. It's not just practical warmth, safety. It's a vibe. Sleep becomes a family affair, a time to swap stories and breathe in sync. You hear the fire pop, feel the dry earth under you, and it hits you. Sleep can connect as much as it restores. Modern, you might call it a sleepover. They just call it life. Time for a mainstream historical fact: the waterbeddies, that wobbly 1970s relic, started way earlier. Back in 1832, a Scottish doctor named Neil Arnott whipped up the hydrostatic bed for patients with bed sores. It was a rubber sack filled with water meant to ease pressure points. Genius, right? Except no one wanted to deal with hauling buckets into the bedroom, so it flopped until the 1960s, when it resurfaced as a hippie must-have. Suddenly, everyone's sloshing around on waterbeds, calling it revolutionary. Next time you see one, tip your hat to Dr. Arnotha, made sleep a little bouncier. Now, a quirky tidbit: in some cultures, enemies would share a bed to patch things up. Yep, you heard that right. You and your nemesis side by side under the same scratchy blanket, trying not to start a midnight brawl. The logic: sleeping together forces vulnerability, hard to plot revenge when you're drooling on the same pillow. No clue if it ended in hugs or bruises, but it's wild to think sleep could double as diplomacy. Imagine pitching that today. Hey, let's fix this feud with a nap. And here's an open scholarly debate that's sacred: 8 hours of sleep. Is it ancient wisdom or a modern myth? Some say our ancestors slept in chunks: 4 hours, a break to pray or gossip, then 4 more. This segmented sleep pops up in old European records, hinting it was normal before electric lights stretched our days. Others argue 8 hours was always the goal, and the split was just boredom in long, dark winters. Scholars still bicker over it. So next time you're up at 3 a.m., scrolling X, maybe you're not broken, just channeling your inner medieval peasant. Through all this, you realize sleep's a cultural kaleidoscope. Japan's futons, Rome's shared couches, Amazon hammocks, Himba campfires, each spot has its own flavor. And here's joke number 3. Some cultures say, sleep like a baby, but babies wake up screaming every hour. Maybe we should say, sleep like a cat. Those smug little loafers nap 16 hours a day and don't apologize. So tonight, as you sink into your own bed, be it a mattress, a hammock, or a pile of laundry, think about the countless ways humans have tackled shut-eye. Sleep's universal. Sure, but how you get there? That's where the story gets good. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering why your brain won't just shut up and let you sleep. Thoughts bounce around like a game of mental ping pong. Did you lock the door? Is tomorrow's meeting at 9 or 10? Why do flamingos stand on one leg? You sigh, roll over, and wish you could just flip a switch and drift off. Welcome to the modern struggle for sleep, where science steps in to explain why you're awake at 2 a.m. worrying about flamingos. Let's start with the basics. Sleep isn't just one long snooze. It's a cycle, a dance between different stages. First, you slip into light. Sleepy, Your muscles, relax your breathing, slows, and you're still aware of the world like when you hear a car honk and think, is that my alarm? Then you drop into deep sleep where your body repairs itself. Muscles rebuild, and your brain waves slow to a crawl. It's the stage where you could sleep through a marching band if they paraded past your bed. Finally, you hit REM sleep rapid eye movement, where dreams take over. Your eyes twitch under your lids. Your brain lights up like a Christmas tree, and suddenly you're flying over Paris or arguing with a talking squirrel. Scientists say REM is when your brain processes emotions and memories. But let's be real. Sometimes it just feels like your mind's throwing a weird party and forgot to invite logic. Now here's a mainstream historical fact. The concept of sleep stages was first mapped out in the 1950s by Eugene Aserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman. They hooked people up to machines, watched their brain waves, and realized sleep wasn't just one big blob of unconsciousness. It was a breakthrough like discovering your favorite song has verses, choruses, and a bridge. Before that, people thought sleep was just sleep. But now we know it's a complex symphony, and if you miss a beat, you wake up feeling like a zombie. Speaking of zombies, let's talk about sleep deprivation. You've been there burning the midnight oil, chugging coffee, and convincing yourself you can function on 4 hours of shut-eye. Newsflash, you can't. Your brain turns to mush, your reaction time slows, and you start forgetting basic things like where you left your keys or what year it is. In fact, studies show that after 17 hours without sleep, your cognitive skills are on par with someone who's legally drunk. So next time you pull an all-nighter, remember you're basically driving your brain under the influence. And here's joke number 1. Sleep deprivation is nature's way of saying you're not as smart as you think you are. Humbling, isn't it? But why do we need sleep at all? Scientists have theories, but no one's cracked the code completely. One idea is that sleep helps your brain flush out toxins, like a nightly detox for your noggin. Another theory says it's for memory consolidation, where your brain sifts through the day's events and decides what to keep and what to toss. Ever wake up with a brilliant solution to a problem? That's your brain working overtime while you snooze. And here's a quirky tidbit. Some animals, like dolphins, can sleep with half their brain at a time. One hemisphere stays awake to keep swimming and breathing, while the other catches some Z's. Imagine if humans could do that. You could nap through boring meetings and still take notes. Dream big right now. Let's get into the circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock. It's like a tiny conductor inside you, waving a baton to keep your sleep-wake cycle on track. Light and darkness cue it. When the sun sets, your brain releases melatonin, the sleep hormone telling you it's time to wind down. But in today's world with screens glowing at all hours, your poor circadian rhythm is probably more confused than a cat in a dog park. You're scrolling through TikTok at midnight, and your brain's like, wait, is it day or night? I'm getting mixed signals here. No wonder you can't sleep. Your internal clock is stuck in a time warp. And here's an open scholarly debate. Is the early bird versus night owl thing real, or just a personality quirk? Some researchers say you're chronotype. Whether you're naturally a morning person or a night person is hardwired like your eye color. Others argue it's shaped by habits and environment. So if you're a night owl who's forced to wake up at 6 a.m., are you fighting biology or just bad at routines? The jury's still out, but either way, you're probably hitting that snooze button like it owes you money. Let's not forget about dreams. You're floating through a bizarre landscape. 1 minute, you're at work. The next, You're riding a unicorn through a field of marshmallows. Dreams are your brain's way of making sense of the chaos, or maybe just entertaining itself while you're offline. Sigmund Freud thought dreams were all about hidden desires, your subconscious spilling the tea. But modern science says they're more about processing emotions and experiences. Still, it's fun to think that your dream about losing your teeth might mean you're anxious about a presentation. Or maybe you just ate too much cheese before bed. Joke number 2. Dreams are like your brains. Netflix cue random, sometimes thrilling and often forgotten by morning. And here's a fun fact you can't read in dreams. Next time you're dreaming, try to read a sign or a book. If the words scramble or vanish, you're probably asleep. It's like your brain's way of saying, nah, too much effort. Speaking of effort, let's talk about sleep tech. From weighted blankets to white noise machines to apps that track your sleep cycles, the market's flooded with gadgets promising the perfect night's rest. But do they work? Maybe. Or maybe they're just fancy placebos. Either way, if a $200 pillow makes you feel like royalty, who's to judge? Finally, let's touch on sleep disorders. Insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome. The list goes on. You're tossing and turning or waking up, gasping for air, or your legs are twitching like they're auditioning for a dance troupe. It's no joke. Sleep disorders can wreck your life. But here's a silver lining. Science is catching up. New treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia or CPAP machines for apnea are helping people reclaim their nights. And joke number 3. If all else fails, just tell yourself you're practicing for a sleep marathon. Gold medal in snoozing coming your way. So there you have it, the science of sleep unraveled just for you. From stages to cycles to dreams, it's a wild ride through your brain's nightly routine. Next time you're lying awake, remember your body's working hard to get you there, even if it feels like it's slacking. Sweet dreams, or at least sweet attempts. You're nestled under your blanket. The room dark, except for the faint glow of your phone. You're half asleep, imagining far-off places, maybe a hammock in Mexico, or a futon in Japan. Sleep feels personal, like it's just you and your pillow, against the world, but it's not. Every culture has its own way of chasing shut-eye, and trust me, some of them are weirder than your uncle's snoring. So let's take a global tour of sleep from ancient habits to modern naps, all while you fight the urge to doze off. First stop, ancient Greece. You're picturing togas, olive trees, and philosophers arguing about the meaning of life. Well, add sleep to their debate list. The Greeks thought sleep was a gift from Hypnos, the god of Snoozeville, who lived in a cave with his sons, including Morpheus, the dream shaper. They believed sleep was sacred, a mini-death, where your soul could wander. You'd lie on a stone bed comfy right, and hope Hypnos sprinkled some poppy dust your way. Here's your mainstream historical fact. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, wrote about sleep around 400 BCE, saying it was key to health. If you didn't sleep well, he'd probably prescribe a nap and some herbal tea. Smart guy, even without a memory foam mattress. Now, hop over to medieval Europe. You're in a drafty castle, the fire's crackling, and you're sharing a straw mattress with 3 other people, family servants, maybe a stray dog. Privacy. Forget it. Sleep here was a group activity, and it wasn't even one long stretch. People practiced biphasic sleep, splitting the night into 2 chunks. You'd snooze for a few hours, wake up around midnight for a bit, maybe pray chat or stare at the ceiling, then go back to sleep until dawn. Imagine that today you'd be up at 2 a.m., scrolling Instagram, calling it historical reenactment. Joke number 1. Medieval sleep was like a Netflix binge short episodes with a weird intermission. Let's jet to pre-industrial Japan. You're on a thin futon rolled out on a tatami mat floor, the air smelling faintly of rice straw. The Japanese kept it simple, no fluffy pillows or heavy quilts. You'd sleep flat maybe, with a wooden block under your head to keep your hairstyle intact. Yep, that's your quirky tidbit. Some Japanese women used wooden pillow blocks called takamakura to protect their elaborate updos. Beauty over comfort, apparently. You drift off to the sound of crickets, waking up with a crick in your neck, but fabulous hair. Modern, you would trade that for a blowout in a heartbeat. Next siesta. Time in Spain. It's the afternoon, the sun's blazing, and you're sprawled out after a big lunch. Shops are closed, streets are quiet, and everyone's napping. The siesta tradition goes back centuries, tied to hot climates, where working through midday heat was a no-go. You'd retreat to a cool room, shutters drawn, and catch a couple hours of Z's. Today, urban life's killing the siesta, thanks 9 to 5 grind. But in rural areas, you might still hear someone mutter, "I'll get to it after my nap." Joke number 2. Siestas are proof the Spanish invented work-life balance before it was a LinkedIn buzzword. Now picture the Arctic with the Inuit. You're bundled in furs, the wind howling outside your igloo. Daylight's a myth for months, and darkness stretches forever during the polar night. How do you sleep when the sun doesn't set or rise to cue your body? The Inuit adapted sleeping when they felt like its short naps scattered through the day and night. Your circadian rhythm would throw a tantrum, but they made it work snoozing between hunting and storytelling. It's like their whole life was a power nap marathon. And you're jealous because you can barely handle a 20-minute cat nap without drooling. Let's Swing by Colonial America. You're in a wooden bed with ropes for a mattress tighten them up, or you're sagging like a hammock. Sleep tight comes from that, by the way. Families piled in together, and bedtime was early because candles were pricey, and the rooster didn't care about your REM cycle. You'd dream of simpler times only to wake up with a splinter in your back. Modern aside, thank goodness for box springs, because you'd rather scroll X than weave rope beds all day. And here's an open, scholarly debate. Did industrialization ruin sleep? Before factories and electric lights, people slept longer and more flexibly. Think 8-10 hours often in 2 shifts. Now, you're lucky to get 6 glued to screens and guzzling caffeine to survive. Some historians say we've lost a natural sleep pattern crushed by the 24/7 hustle. Others argue humans have always adapted. Medieval monks stayed up chanting after all. So are you sleep deprived because of capitalism or just bad at saying no to Netflix? Scholars are duking it out, but you're too tired to care. Back to the journey, let's visit the Himba of Namibia. You're in a desert village, the air dry and warm, sleeping on a mat under the stars. The Himba don't stick to strict schedules. They sleep when the day's work is done, often in short bursts. Kids nap in the shade, adults doze when the cattle are calm. You'd hear the hum of voices and the rustle of wind drifting off without a clock in sight. It's the opposite of your buzzing alarm life, and you're wondering if you could trade your mattress for a mat and some peace. Finally, modern naps around the globe. In China, you're at work, head on your desk for a quick Jiu lunchtime snooze. In Italy, you're lingering over espresso, but still dreaming of a pisolino. Japan's got Inamura napping in public, even at meetings, because it shows you're so dedicated you're exhausted. You try that at your job, and your boss would probably just send you home. Joke number 3. Global napping is the real United Nations, everyone agrees, sleep beats staying awake. So there's your world tour of sleep. From hypnos to hammocks, straw beds to siestas, every culture's got its own vibe. Next time you're tossing and turning, think of the Inuit napping through the dark, or the Himba dozing under stars. Maybe your sleep struggles aren't so bad, or maybe they are, and you just need a wooden pillow block to sort it out. Sweet dreams, traveler. You're tucked in the world outside, fading to a hum, your eyelids heavy as you sink into that sweet, pre-sleep haze. But before you drift off, let's shake things up. Sleep's not always been a simple head-on pillow. Deal-some cultures turned it into a full-on circus. You think your weighted blanket's extra. Wait until you hear about the wild rituals humans have cooked up to catch some Z's. This is your ticket to the strangest sleep habits history's got to offer, so settle in or don't, because these might just keep you awake. First up, ancient Rome. You're sprawled on a cushioned lectus, the air thick with the scent of wine and roasted meat from dinner. Romans loved their sleep, but they had a weird way of prepping for it. Some swore by eating dormici, yep, those cute little rodents, because they thought it'd make them sleepy. Picture you chowing down on a tiny mouse snack, hoping it's the ancient version of melatonin. Here's your mainstream historical fact. Roman physician Galen, around 200 CE, wrote about sleep as a balance of bodily humor. Stew much heat or moisture, and you're tossing all night. He'd probably tell you to skip the dormice and just chill, but where's the fun in that? Now let's hop to medieval Mongolia. You're a nomad curled up in a yurt under layers of felt and fur, the wind rattling the steppe outside. The Mongols had a thing for sleeping with their boots on literally. They believed it kept their spirits grounded, stopping them from wandering off in dreams. You'd feel the leather creak as you shift, the faint smell of horse sweat lingering from the day's ride. Joke number 1. Imagine trying that now. You'd wake up with boot prints on your sheets and a very confused roommate. Swing over to pre-colonial Mesoamerica with the Maya. You're lying on a woven mat, jungle sounds, buzzing crickets, frogs, maybe a jaguar prowling nearby. The Maya took sleep seriously, linking it to the underworld and their gods. They'd burn copal incense to ward off bad dreams, the smoky sweet haze filling your nose as you drift off. Priests might even sacrifice something small, a bird, a bit of blood, to keep the dream world happy. You'd hope they got it right, because waking up to a ticked-off deity sounds worse than your Monday alarm. Next, ancient India. You're on a charpoya rope bed that sags just enough under a starry sky, the air spiced with sandalwood. Vedic texts talk about sleep as a cosmic reset, but some folks went hard with pre-sleep rituals. Enter your quirky tidbit. Certain yogis slept on beds of nails to prove their detachment from the body. Yep, nails pointy side up. You'd wince just looking at it, but they'd snooze like it's a Tempur-Pedic. Modern aside, you'd rather scroll TikTok than try that, though it might fix your posture. Let's drift to the Pacific with the Maori of New Zealand. You're in a where? A wooden house wrapped in flax mats, the ocean crashing in the distance. The Maori saw sleep as a tapu sacred state, and they chant karakia prayers to protect you from spirits sneaking into your dreams. You'd hear the low rhythmic words, feeling the weight of tradition settle over you like a blanket. Joke number 2. It's like a lullaby, but with better special effects than your white noise app. Now, Victorian England, because who doesn't love a creepy twist? You're in a 4-poster bed, curtains drawn, the room damp with fog seeping through the window. The Victorians were obsessed with death, and some thought sleep was a rehearsal for it. They'd pose corpses in sleeping positions for photo psychs, and the living would sleep with memento mori, like skull carvings nearby, to remind them life's short. You'd clutch your pillow, wondering if that's why your grandma kept weird trinkets on the nightstand. Modern, you would nope out and order a latte instead. Here's an open scholarly debate. Did sleep rituals actually work, or were they just placebo? Take the ancient Egyptians, yep, tying back to those cat-worshipping days. They'd use amulets and spells to fend off nightmares, believing evil spirits attacked at night. Some researchers say these rituals calmed anxiety, paving the way for better rest, like a proto-CBT. Others argue it was all superstition and sleep quality came down to diet and luck. Were the Egyptians snoozing soundly, thanks to their charms, or just because they were too tired from pyramid building? No one's got the final word, but you're betting on the cats helping somehow. Back to the wildlets. Visit the Amazon with the Yanomami. You're in a hammock swaying between trees, the jungle alive with chirps and rustles. They sleep in short bursts, waking to tend fires or chat, because who needs a solid 8 when jaguars might drop by? You'd smell the wood smoke, feel the humidity cling to your skin, and wonder how they don't fall out mid-dream. It's the ultimate test of balance, and you'd fail spectacularly. Finally, modern oddities. In Iceland, you're napping outside, eyes outside, in a pram as a baby bundled up against the cold. It's a tradition fresh air is supposed to toughen you up and make you sleep better. You'd feel the icy breeze, hear the silence of snow, and wake up either refreshed or frozen. Joke number 3. It's nature's cry it out method, but with more frostbite risk than your pediatrician would approve. So there's your wild ride through sleep's weirdest corners, from dormice dinners to nail beds, boot naps to corpse vibes. Humans have turned bedtime into a freak show. Next time you're counting sheep, picture a Mongol warrior snoring in his boots, or a Mayan priest waving incense your way. Sleep's universal sure, but the ways we chase it, bonkers. Drift off now, if you dare. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering why you can't just flip a switch and fall asleep. It's not like you're trying to solve world peace or anything, just trying to catch some Z's. But sleep, that elusive mistress, has a mind of her own. You've probably heard that we spend about a third of our lives sleeping, which when you think about it, is a lot of time doing nothing. Or is it, welcome to the science of shut-eye, where we unravel the mysteries of sleep and maybe, just maybe, figure out why you're still awake at 2 a.m., scrolling through cat videos. You drift off, and your brain starts its nightly dance through the stages of sleep. First, there's the light sleep, where you're half aware, half gone. Your body's dipping its toes into the pool of unconsciousness. Then you sink into deep sleep, where your muscles loosen, your breathing slows, and your brain waves roll like lazy waves on a quiet shore. It's here your body repairs itself, patching up the wear and tear of the day. Finally, you hit REM sleep, where dreams flicker to life and your eyes dart around under closed lids like you're chasing shadows only you can see. This cycle repeats several times a night, each loop taking about 90 minutes. It's like your brain's running a marathon while you're out cold and you're none the wiser. Here's a mainstream historical fact to tuck you in. Back in the 1950s, researchers Eugene Oserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman stumbled onto something big. They noticed that during sleep, our eyes move rapidly under our eyelids, a phase they dubbed rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. This wasn't just a cool trivia point. It was the first time science peeked into the dreaming mind. Before that, sleep was a black box, something you did not, something you studied. Their discovery kicked off a whole new era of sleep research, with labs popping up to watch people snooze under fancy machines. Talk about a dream job, right? Watching someone drool for science. But why do we sleep at all? That's the million-dollar question, and scientists are still scratching their heads over it. There's no shortage of ideas, though. Some say sleep is about energy conservation, like your body switching to airplane mode to save battery. Others argue it's for memory consolidation, where your brain sifts through the day's chaos, filing away the good stuff and tossing the rest like yesterday's junk mail. Then there's the restoration theory, suggesting sleep is when your body heals, knitting up tiny tears in your muscles and topping off your energy tank. And don't forget the evolutionary angle. Sleep might have kept our ancestors safe, keeping them still and quiet while predators prowled the night. So which is it? Here's your open scholarly debate. Despite decades of poking at the question, no single theory has claimed the crown. Most likely, it's a bit of everything, a sleepy stew of purposes. For now, though, you're just hoping to make it through the night without waking up to pee. Speaking of evolution, animals take sleep to a whole other level. Take dolphins. They sleep with one eye open, no kidding. Half their brain stays awake to keep them breathing and on guard, while the other half catches some shut-eye. It's like they're perpetually pulling an all-nighter with a nap thrown in. Then there's the albatross, a bird that can sleep while soaring over the ocean, snagging micro-naps mid-flight. Meanwhile, you're struggling to stay awake through a PowerPoint presentation. Here's your quirky tidbit. Some animals have sleep superpowers, leaving you wondering why you can't even master the art of not drooling on your pillow. Picture this. You're back in bed, the fan humming a soft lullaby, the faint glow of streetlights sneaking through the blinds like a nosy neighbor. Your mind's buzzing. Did you lock the door? What's for breakfast? Why is that dog barking at 3 a.m.? It's like your brain's throwing a rave, and sleep didn't get the invite. Modern life doesn't exactly roll out the red carpet for rest, does it? Screens blast blue light into your eyes, stress coils tight in your chest, and caffeine lingers like an overeager guest. You'd trade your phone for a ticket back to the pre-industrial days when people slept in two chunks. First sleep, then a midnight break, then second sleep, no emails pinging to jolt you awake. But here you are in the 21st century, where sleep feels less like a birthright and more like a rare Pokemon you can't quite catch. And here's your first light joke. They say sleep is the best meditation, but your meditation app might just be fancy white noise for your insomnia. Maybe skip the mindfulness and count sheep, or better yet, tally up how many times you've hit snooze this week. Bet it's a record. Sleep isn't just about feeling perky in the morning. It's a heavy hitter for your health. Skimp on it and your immune system takes a nap of its own, leaving you wide open to whatever germs floating around. Your metabolism goes haywire. To ever notice how a bad night makes you crave greasy fries and sugary junk, and the brain fog brutal? Try solving a math problem after an all-nighter. It's like your mind's stuck on a dial-up connection, buffering endlessly. Science warns that chronic sleep deprivation can pave the way for nasty stuff. Heart disease, diabetes, even a shorter spin on this planet. So next time you're tempted to binge that new show till dawn, listen to your body whispering, "Chill, dude, I need a break." Here's joke number 2. Sleep deprivation turns you into a zombie, but without the Hollywood perks of munching brains. Instead, you're just shuffling through your day, praying no one clocks your mismatched socks or the fact you called your boss mom by mistake. Then there are dreams, those bizarre technicolor tales your brain cooks up while you're out. Science pegs them mostly to REM sleep, but why they happen is anyone's guess. Some say dreams are your brain's therapy session, processing the day's emotional baggage. Others think they're practice runs for real life, like a flight simulator for your subconscious. Or maybe they're just random sparks, your neurons firing off a chaotic screensaver. You've had those dreams, right? Flying over rooftops, tumbling off cliffs, or strolling into work in your underwear. Whatever they are, they prove one thing: your brain's a night owl, even when you're not. And for your third joke, dreams are like your brains. Netflix endless episodes, but half the time you're lost in the plot. Still, you keep tuning in, hoping the next one's a masterpiece instead of another rerun of Teeth Falling Out, the movie. So there you have it, the science of shut-eye unraveled just for you. Sleep's a tangled web of cycle stages and questions we're still chasing in the dark. But it's clear, it's not optional, it's vital, it's wild, and it's yours to claim. Next time you're lying there, staring into the void, wondering why sleep's playing hard to get no, you're not alone. Humans have been wrestling with this forever. Maybe science will crack the code someday, or maybe you'll just drift off counting those sheep one fuzzy little bleat at a time. You're lying in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. The night stretches on, but sleep refuses to come. You toss and turn, your mind racing with thoughts that won't quiet down. Did you lock the door? What's that shadow in the corner? Is that the neighbor's dog or a werewolf? Welcome to the timeless struggle of insomnia, a condition that has plagued humanity for centuries. You're not alone in this midnight misery. People have been wrestling with sleep disorders since the dawn of time, though their remedies might make you grateful for your lavender pillow spray. Let's drift back to ancient Greece, where the father of medicine, Hippocrates, had some thoughts on why you can't sleep. He believed it all came down to the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Too much black bile, and you'd be up all night brooding like a tragic poet. His cure? Probably something like eating more lettuce or taking a long walk. Ancient medicine was wild, and honestly, you'd rather stick with your melatonin gummies. Still, Hippocrates was onto something. He knew sleep was crucial for health, even if his treatments were more guesswork than science. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, when sleep disorders took on a darker, more supernatural vibe. Imagine you're living in a drafty stone house, the fire crackling low, and suddenly your neighbor starts sleepwalking, except he's not just pacing the room. He's out in the garden, weeding at midnight with glazed over eyes. In 16th century France, there was a famous case of a man who did just that, tending his crops in his sleep, while his neighbors whispered about demonic possession. You'd probably think the same thing if you saw someone muttering to themselves under the moonlight, shovel in hand. Here's a light joke for you. Sleepwalking back then must have been a real party trick. You could go from peasant to nighttime gardener without even trying. Too bad you couldn't remember your green thumb skills in the morning. But sleepwalking wasn't the only nighttime terror. Let's talk about sleep paralysis, that horrifying halfway state where you wake up but can't move. Your body feels like it's made of stone, a weight presses on your chest, and shadows dance in the corners of your vision. You're sure there's something or someone in the room with you, lurking just out of sight. This isn't a modern nightmare. People have been experiencing sleep paralysis for centuries, and they didn't blame it on stress or screen time. In Newfoundland, they called it the old hag, believing a witch was sitting on your chest. In Japan, it was kanashibari, caused by vengeful spirits tying you down. You'd lie there frozen, praying for the hag or the spirit to leave you be. Today we know it's just your brain waking up before your body. But back then, you'd be burning sage and hanging garlic over your bed, hoping to ward off the next attack. Now here's a mainstream historical fact to anchor us. It wasn't until the 1960s that sleep apnea was formally recognized as a medical condition. Before that, if you snored like a chainsaw and gasped for air in your sleep, you were just the annoying one in the bed. But in 1965, researchers in Germany and France independently described the condition, linking it to serious health risks like heart disease and stroke. This led to the development of treatments like CPAP machines, which, let's be honest, make you look like a budget Darth Vader, but at least keep you breathing. It's a far cry from the old days, when your bedmate might have just smothered you with a pillow to stop the racket. Speaking of old remedies, here's a quirky tidbit to tickle your imagination in ancient Egypt. Insomnia was a serious business. To fend off sleepless nights, they'd sleep with a statue of the god Bisa dwarf with a lion's mane by their bed. Bes was the protector of households, warding off evil spirits and bringing peaceful sleep. You'd clutch your little Bes statue, whispering, "Please, little guy, make the bad dreams go away." It's like an ancient version of a security blanket. And while there's no proof it worked, it probably brought some comfort, kind of like your childhood teddy bear, but with more divine intervention. But were sleep disorders as common back then as they are now? That's where we hit an open scholarly debate. Some historians argue that pre-industrial societies had fewer sleep problems because their lives were more in tune with natural light and darkness, no buzzing phones or Netflix marathons to keep them up. They'd rise with the sun, work hard, and crash when it got dark sometimes, sleeping in 2 shifts with a break in between. Others say sleep disorders have always been around, but people just explain them differently, blaming witches, demons, or bad humors instead of diagnosing insomnia or sleep apnea. There's no clear answer, and the debate rages on, much like your own internal monologue at 3 a.m., when you're wondering if you should just get up and make coffee. Let's not forget about restless leg syndrome, that maddening urge to move your legs when you're trying to relax. You're lying there finally cozy, and suddenly your legs start twitching like they've got a mind of their own. In the 17th century, English physician Thomas Willis first described it, calling it a restlessness of the limbs. His treatment, opium, which, let's be real, would knock you out, but probably isn't the best long-term solution. Today, we've got better options, but you still might find yourself pacing the floor at midnight, wondering why your legs can't just chill. And here's your second light joke. In the Victorian era, they had sleep cages for babies, wooden frames to keep them from rolling out of bed. It's like a crib, but with more of a prison vibe. You'd tuck your little one in, hoping they'd sleep through the night, while secretly wishing you could climb into a cage yourself for some uninterrupted shut-eye. Finally, let's talk about modern sleep aids versus historical remedies. Today, we've got sleep trackers, white noise machines, and apps that promise to lull you into dreamland with soothing sounds. But back in the day, they kept it simple: warm milk, a prayer, maybe a splash of ale if you were feeling fancy. Here's your third light joke. Maybe we've overcomplicated it. Perhaps all you need is a cup of chamomile and a goodnight kiss from your cat. Or You know, a Bez statue, if you can find one on eBay. So as you lie there tonight, wrestling with your own sleep demons, take comfort in knowing you're part of a long, sleepless tradition. From ancient Greeks balancing their humors to medieval gardeners tending their crops in their sleep, humanity has always had a complicated relationship with the night. Maybe your insomnia is just your brain's way of connecting with the pastor. Maybe you just need to put down your phone and close your eyes. Either way, you're in good company. You're floating above a city, the skyline glowing beneath you like a sea of fireflies. The wind rushes past cool and crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain and distant car exhaust. You're weightless, untethered, soaring higher with each breath, until suddenly you're not. You're falling, plummeting toward the earth, your stomach lurching as the ground rushes up to meet you. Just before impact, you jolt awake, heart pounding, tangled in your sheets. You're safe, of course, but the dream lingers vivid and strange, like a half-remembered song. Welcome to the wild world of dreams, where logic takes a nap and your brain spins tales that would make even the weirdest Netflix show blush. You've probably wondered what your dreams mean, why you're always running late for an exam you already passed, or showing up to work in your pajamas. But you're not the first to puzzle over these nighttime visions. For as long as humans have slept, they've dreamed, and they've tried to make sense of it all. Let's drift back to ancient Egypt, where dreams weren't just random brain flickers, they were divine messages. You're lying on a reed mat, the Nile murmuring nearby, when you dream of a cat with golden eyes. In the morning, you'd rush to the temple, eager to decode the gods' whispers. Here's a solid historical nugget for you. The ancient Egyptians had one of the oldest known dream books, a papyrus from around 1275 BCE, listing over 200 dream symbols and their meanings. Dreaming of a crocodile, bad news, someone's plotting against you. A cat, good vibe, protection and prosperity. You'd probably wish for more cat dreams and fewer crocodile ones, especially if you were living near the river. Now, let's glide over to ancient Greece, where dreams were big business. You're reclining on a stone bench in the sanctuary of Asclepius, the god of healing, hoping for a dream that cures your aching back or nagging cough. The Greeks believed dreams could heal, reveal the future, or even deliver divine smackdowns. You'd fall asleep, surrounded by flickering oil lamps, the air thick with incense, waiting for Asclepius to visit your dreams with a prescription. If you were lucky, you'd wake up with a vision of a sacred snake or a wise old man telling you to eat more figs. If not, well, maybe you just dream of forgetting your toga at home, awkward. But dreams weren't just for the gods-fearing types. In some cultures, they were a bridge to the spirit world. Picture yourself with the Senoi people of Malaysia gathered around a morning fire, the jungle alive with bird calls and rustling leaves. Here dreams are a community affair. You'd share your dreams over breakfast, and the group would help you interpret them, offering advice or praise. If you dreamed of flying, they'd cheer you on to fly higher next time. If you faced a monster, they'd urge you to confront it. It's like group therapy, but with more symbolism and fewer couches. Here's a quirky little tidbit. The Senoi are famous for their dream-sharing rituals, believing that controlling your dreams can lead to a happier, more balanced life. You'd probably trade your dream journal for a spot at their table, especially if it meant fewer nightmares about missing deadlines. Now let's fast forward to today, where dream interpretation has gone digital. You're scrolling through a dream analysis app, typing in flying, or teeth falling out, hoping for insight. The app spits out some generic advice. Flying means freedom, teeth mean anxiety, and you nod, even though it feels like a horoscope, vague enough to fit anyone. Here's a little jab for you. Ancient Egyptians would have laughed at your app, probably saying, "You think an algorithm can outdo a priest with a scroll? Please." But hey, at least you don't have to sacrifice a goat to get answers. Speaking of teeth, ever wonder why so many people dream about them falling out? It's one of those universal dream themes like being chased or showing up naked in public. Some psychologists say it's about loss or insecurity or brain's way of saying, hey, you're stressed and it shows. Others think it's just your mind riffing on random fears like a bad improv sketch. You'd probably prefer the ancient Greek, take dreaming of losing teeth, meant someone in your family was about to die. Yikes. Suddenly your app's anxiety explanation doesn't seem so bad. But what's the point of dreams anyway? That's where things get murky. Scientists and psychologists have been duking it out for years, and they still can't agree. Some say dreams are your brain's way of processing emotions, like a nightly therapy session, where you work through your baggage without the copay. Others argue they're just random noise your neurons firing off while you sleep, creating stories out of chaos. Then there's the evolutionary angle. Maybe dreams are practice runs for real-life threats, like a VR simulator for your survival instincts. Here's a question still up for grabs. Despite all the theories, no one's cracked the code. Are dreams meaningful messages from your subconscious or just your brain's screensaver? You're left to wonder, half asleep, if that flying dream means you're destined for greatness or just ate too much pizza before bed. Let's not forget the wild side of dreaming lucid dreams, where you're the director of your own nighttime movie. You're flying again, but this time you know it's a dream and you can steer the plot. Want to visit Paris Poof? You're there munching on a croissant. Want to confront that monster? Bam, you're a superhero, cape and all. Lucid dreaming has been around for centuries. Buddhist monks practiced it as a form of meditation, and some indigenous cultures used it for spiritual journeys. Today, it's a trendy hobby, with apps and gadgets promising to help you take control. You'd probably give it a shot, if only to stop that recurring dream where you're late for a meeting and can't find your shoes. And here's another playful nudge. Lucid dreaming is like being the DJ at your own party, except the party's in your head and the playlist is all your weirdest thoughts. Still, it's better than letting your brain spin the wheel and land on public speaking in your underwear again. Dreams have also inspired art, literature, and even science. You're probably familiar with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, dreamed up after a nightmare, or Einstein's theory of relativity, which he said came to him in a dream. It's like your brain's working overtime while you're out cold solving problems and spinning stories you'd never think of awake. You'd love to claim your dreams are that productive, but mostly you're just trying to remember where you parked your car in dreamland. For a final chuckle, dreams are like your brain's late-night improv show, sometimes brilliant, often bizarre, and usually forgotten by morning. But hey, at least you don't have to pay for tickets. So as you lie there tonight drifting off, remember that dreams are as old as humanity itself. From ancient Egyptian scrolls to modern apps, from divine messages to psychological puzzles, dreams have always been a mystery we can't resist chasing. Maybe they're your brain's way of sorting through the day, or maybe they're just a wild ride through the subconscious. Either way, they connect you to every sleeper who's ever wondered, what the heck was that about? So next time you wake up from a dream, whether it's flying over the city or losing your teeth, smile, shake your head, and know you're part of a long, strange tradition. Sweet dreams, dreamer. You're lying in bed, the soft hum of the fan above you blending with the distant murmur of the city. The sheets are cool against your skin, and the faint scent of lavender lingers from the pillow spray you spritzed earlier, your modern attempt at summoning sleep. But your mind won't settle. It's wandering, restless, slipping into thoughts of far-off places and times. Tonight, it drifts to ancient Egypt, a land where the sun blazed like a god, the Nile flowed like life itself, and Catsy's cats were more than just pets. They were divine revered, and maybe even the secret to a good night's sleep. You close your eyes, and suddenly you're there, standing on the banks of the Nile, the air thick with the scent of papyrus, and the distant chime of temple bells. Welcome to ancient Egypt, a civilization that pulsed with life, death, and everything in between. You're walking through a bustling marketplace, the sun beating down on your shoulders, the ground warm beneath your sandals. Merchants hawk their wares, linen cloths, jars of honey amulets, shaped like scarabs and eyes. But your gaze is drawn to a sleek, tawny cat lounging in the shade of a stall, its eyes half closed, utterly unbothered by the chaos around it. In ancient Egypt, cats weren't just cute companions. They were sacred, believed to embody the goddess Bastet, protector of the home, fertility, and childbirth. You'd think twice before shooing one off your bed after all it might be a god in disguise judging your hospitality. Here's a mainstream historical fact to anchor you: cats were first domesticated in ancient Egypt around 2000 BCE, though some evidence suggests it could be even earlier. They weren't just pretty faces. They were practical too. Cats kept the granaries free of rodents, protecting the food supply in a land where grain was gold. But their role went beyond pest control. They became symbols of grace and power, their images carved into temple walls and painted on tomb frescoes. You'd see them lounging beside pharaohs, their eyes gleaming with that same knowing look your cat gives you when it's plotting to knock your water glass off the table. But it wasn't all worship and reverence. Cats were also woven into the fabric of daily life, especially when it came to sleep. Picture this: you're in an Egyptian home, the walls made of sun-baked mud bricks, the air cool and still. You're lying on a low bed, a woven mat beneath you, and there curled at your feet is a cat, its soft fur brushing against your skin, its purr a low rhythmic hum that seems to sync with your breath. The ancient Egyptians believed cats had a calming presence, that their purring could ward off evil spirits and bring peace to the household. You drift off to sleep, lulled by the vibration, feeling safer with your feline guardian nearby. Here's a light joke for you. Maybe the Egyptians never had to deal with insomnia because they had the ultimate sleep aid, a purring cat. Forget counting sheep. Just borrow a tabby and call it a night. Now, let's dive into a quirky tidbit that might make you raise an eyebrow. Cats were so beloved that they were often mummified and buried with their owners. Yep, you heard that right. When a cat died, it wasn't just a sad day, it was a full-on mourning event. Families would shave their eyebrows in grief, and the cat would be wrapped in linen sometimes, adorned with gold, and laid to rest in a special cemetery. Archaeologists have found entire cat necropolises with thousands of mummified felines stacked like little linen-wrapped soldiers. You'd probably think it's overkill, but to the Egyptians, it was a way to honor their furry friends in the afterlife. Imagine telling your vet, "Yeah, I'd like the deluxe mummification package for Mr. Whiskers, please." They'd think you'd lost your mind or found a new side hustle. But were cats truly worshipped as gods? Or were they just highly respected animals? That's where things get fuzzy, and historians still bicker over it. Some say cats were divine incarnations, especially of Bastet, and that killing one even by accident was a crime punishable by death. Others argue that while cats were sacred, they weren't exactly gods themselves, just vessels of divine energy. You'd probably side with the don't kill the cat camp just to be safe. After all, in a land where the gods could smite you for less, it's better not to risk it. This open scholarly debate lingers like a cat's stare intense unblinking and a little unnerving. Were the Egyptians cat worshippers or just really enthusiastic pet owners? You'll have to decide for yourself. But either way, their love for felines was legendary. Let's not forget the sensory side of this ancient world. You're back in that Egyptian home, the night air drifting through the open window carrying the scent of jasmine and the distant croak of frogs from the Nile. The cat at your feet shifts its tail flicking lazily, and you feel the soft brush of its fur against your ankle. The room is dim, lit only by a flickering oil lamp, casting shadows that dance like spirits on the walls. You hear the faint rustle of palm leaves outside, the occasional bark of a dog, but mostly it's quiet, peaceful even. It's easy to see why the Egyptians might have linked cats to sleep and protection. There's something inherently calming about their presence, their effortless grace. You'd almost believe they could chase away nightmares, or at least make you feel less alone in the dark. Here's another light joke to keep you smirking. Cats are still worshipped today, but now it's on the internet instead of in temples. You've seen the video scats in boxes, cats on Roombas. Cats demanding belly rubs only to attack your hand. It's like we've traded incense and offerings for likes and shares, but the devotion's still there. Maybe the Egyptians were onto something and were just carrying on the tradition, one meme at a time. And for your third chuckle, cats are the ultimate sleep experts. They snooze for up to 16 hours a day, napping, like it's their job. You'd probably trade your day job for that gig, especially if it came with a built-in fan club and all the tuna you could eat. But alas, you're stuck with your human sleep schedule, trying to scrape together 8 hours while your cat lounges on the windowsill, judging you for not being as enlightened. So as you lie there tonight, your own cater may be just the memory of one curled nearby. Think of ancient Egypt, a land where the line between the divine and the domestic blurred, where cats were more than pets, they were protectors, companions, and maybe even a little bit magical. Their purring was a lullaby, their presence a shield against the unknown. You might not have a mummified cat under your bed, but you can still appreciate the legacy they left behind. Close your eyes, listen to the quiet, and let the ancient pulse of Egypt carry you into sleep. Sweet dreams, dreamer. You're lying on a low bed in an ancient Egyptian home, the cool night air drifting through the open window, carrying the faint scent of the Nile and the distant croak of frogs. A cat is curled up at your feet, its soft purring a comforting lullaby that seems to sync with the rhythm of your breath. The room is dimly lit by a single oil lamp, casting flickering shadows on the walls where paintings of cats sleek regal and ever watchful gaze down at you. It's easy to see why the Egyptians revered these creatures. There's something almost magical about their presence, especially in the quiet of the night. But cats in ancient Egypt weren't just pretty faces or divine symbols, they were practical too. Here's a mainstream historical fact to ground you. Cats were first domesticated in Egypt around 2000 BCE, and their primary job was pest control in a society that depended on grain for survival. Rodents were a constant threat, gnawing through stores and spreading disease. Cats, with their sharp claws and keen hunting instincts, were the perfect solution. They prowled the granaries, keeping the rodent population in check, and in return, they were fed, pampered, and adored. You'd think of them as the original essential workers clocking in every night to protect the food supply while you slept soundly. Yet their role went beyond mere utility. Cats were woven into the fabric of daily life, becoming companions, muses, and even fashion statements. You'd see them lounging in homes draped over furniture like living sculptures, their eyes half closed in that signature look of contentment. Artists captured their likeness in statues, amulets, and tomb paintings, often depicting them with an air of mystery and grace. In fact, cats were so beloved that they inspired a unique art style: sleek, elongated figures with almond-shaped eyes, a look that's still iconic today. You'd probably joke that cats were the first influencers of ancient Egypt, setting trends with their effortless cool and having entire temples dedicated to their vibe. And here's a quirky tidbit that might make you smile: when a cat died, it wasn't just a quiet goodbye. Families would mourn them as if they'd lost a child, shaving their eyebrows in grief and holding elaborate funerals. The cat would be mummified, wrapped in linen, and sometimes adorned with jewelry, or placed in a tiny sarcophagus. Archaeologists have uncovered entire cat cemeteries with thousands of mummified felines stacked like little linen-wrapped treasures. You'd imagine telling your friends, "Yeah, I'm thinking of mummifying my cat when the time comes. Got to keep the tradition alive." They'd probably stage an intervention. But in ancient Egypt, it was the ultimate sign of respect. Now let's tackle the open scholarly debate that still has historians scratching their heads. Were cats truly worshipped as gods, or were they just highly respected animals? Some argue that cats were divine incarnations, especially of the goddess Bastet, and that harming one was a crime punishable by death. Others say that while cats were sacred, they weren't gods themselves, just vessels of divine energy like living talismans. You'd probably lean toward the don't mess with the cat side just to be safe. After all, in a world where the gods could turn your afterlife into a nightmare, it's better not to risk it. This debate lingers like a cat stare, intense, unblinking, and a little unnerving. Were the Egyptians cat worshippers, or just really enthusiastic pet owners? You'll have to decide for yourself. But either way, their love for felines was legendary. Speaking of love, let's not forget how cats influenced sleep. The Egyptians believed that a cat's purr had a calming, almost magical effect, warding off bad dreams and soothing the soul. You'd lie there, the cat's rhythmic hum vibrating through the bed, feeling your worries melt away. It's like nature's white noise machine, but with fur and attitude. Modern science even backs this up. Studies show that a cat's purr can lower stress and promote healing. You'd smirk and think, so my cat's not just being cute, it's actually trying to fix me. Good luck with that, kitty. Here's a light joke for you cats. We're the original sleep experts, napping up to 16 hours a day like it was their job. You'd trade your day job for that gig in a heartbeat, especially if it came with a built-in fan club and all the fish you could eat. But alas, you're stuck with your human sleep schedule, trying to scrape together 8 hours while your cat lounges on the windowsill judging your life choices. And for a modern aside, cats are still worshipped today, but now it's on the internet instead of in temples. You've seen the video scats in boxes, cats on Roomba's cats, demanding belly rubs only to attack your hand. It's like we've traded incense and offerings for likes and shares, but the devotion still there. Maybe the Egyptians were onto something and we're just carrying on the tradition one meme at a time. For your third chuckle, cats are the ultimate masters of the cat nap, snoozing in sunbeams and on your clean laundry without a care in the world. You'd probably try to copy their technique, but somehow you'd end up with a crick in your neck and a pile of unfinished tasks. Cats make it look easy. Maybe they're the real sleep gurus, and we're just amateurs. So as you lie there tonight, your own cater, maybe just the memory of one curled nearby. Think of ancient Egypt, a land where cats were more than pets. They were protectors, companions, and maybe even a little bit magical. Their purring was a lullaby, their presence a shield against the unknown. You might not have a mummified cat under your bed, but you can still appreciate the legacy they left behind. Close your eyes, listen to the quiet, and let the ancient pulse of Egypt carry you into sleep. Sweet dreams, dreamer. You're lying on a low bed in an ancient Egyptian home, the cool night air drifting through the open window, carrying the faint scent of the Nile and the distant croak of frogs. The room is dimly lit by a flickering oil lamp, casting soft shadows on the walls, where paintings of cats and gods gaze down at you with serene, timeless eyes. Your bed is simple but sturdy, made of woven palm fronds, stretched over a wooden frame, and beneath you, a thin mat of reeds offers just enough cushion to keep you from feeling the hard floor. It's not exactly a memory foam mattress, but in this quiet, starlit night, it feels like the most natural place to rest. Welcome to sleep in ancient Egypt, a world where dreams were divine whispers and the night was a bridge to the afterlife. You shift slightly, trying to get comfortable. The Egyptians didn't have fluffy pillows or down comforters. Instead, they used headrests carved from wood or stone curved to cradle the neck. It looks more like a piece of abstract art than a bedtime accessory, and you can't help but wonder how anyone slept on it without waking up with a crick in their neck. Here's a light joke for you. Maybe the Egyptians invented the first chiropractic sleep aid, a headrest that doubles as a neck adjustment tool. You'd probably trade it for a soft pillow in a heartbeat, but in the hot, dry climate of Egypt, these headrests had a practical side. They kept your head elevated, allowing air to circulate and cool your face, which was a blessing when the desert heat lingered long after sunset. Now let's anchor this with a mainstream historical fact. The oldest known bed was discovered in an Egyptian tomb dating back to around 2600 BCE. It was a simple wooden frame with woven reeds, not unlike the one you're imagining beneath you. This bed wasn't just a piece of furniture. It was a symbol of status and a connection to the divine. In fact, many Egyptian beds were inscribed with spells and prayers to protect the sleeper from evil spirits and ensure a peaceful journey through the night. You'd probably appreciate a little magical backup as you drift off, especially if it meant fewer nightmares about missing deadlines or showing up to work in your pajamas. But sleep in ancient Egypt wasn't just about comfort. It was deeply tied to their beliefs about the afterlife. The Egyptians saw sleep as a temporary death, a nightly rehearsal for the soul's journey to the underworld. You'd lie down each night not just to rest, but to practice for eternity. Dreams were a big deal too. They were thought to be messages from the gods or glimpses into the future. If you dreamed of a cat, it was a sign of protection. If you dreamed of a crocodile, well, you might want to avoid the river for a while. You'd probably wish for more cat dreams and fewer crocodile ones, especially if you were living near the Nile. Here's a quirky tidbit to make you smile. The Egyptians had a unique way of dealing with insomnia. They believed that placing a statue of the god Dwarf with a lion's mane by your bed could ward off bad dreams and bring peaceful sleep. Bes was the protector of households, and his fierce, funny face was thought to scare away any lurking spirits. You'd clutch your little best statue, whispering, "Please, little guy, make the bad dreams go away." It's like an ancient version of a security blanket. And while there's no proof it worked, it probably brought some comfort, kind of like your childhood teddy bear, but with more divine intervention. Now let's tackle an open scholarly debate that still has historians scratching their heads. Did the ancient Egyptians practice segmented sleep? Some researchers argue that, like many pre industrial societies, the Egyptians slept in two shifts, going to bed at sunset, waking up in the middle of the night for a couple of hours, and then sleeping again until dawn. This biphasic sleep might have been a way to cope with the long, dark nights or to tend to household chores. Others say there's little evidence for it, and that the Egyptians, like us, aimed for one long stretch of sleep. You'd probably relate to the idea of waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, and wondering if you should just get up and make coffee. Maybe the Egyptians had the same debate, but with fewer screens to keep them awake. The sensory world of an Egyptian night was rich and immersive. You'd hear the soft rustle of palm leaves outside, the occasional bark of a dog, and the distant murmur of the Nile's waters. The air would be thick with the scent of incense myrrh or frankincense burned to purify the space and invite the gods' protection. Your bed, though simple, would feel cool, and grounding the reed mat beneath you, slightly scratchy but familiar. And if you were lucky, a cat might curl up at your feet, its purring a soothing lullaby that seemed to sync with the rhythm of the night. You'd feel the weight of history in the quiet, knowing that for thousands of years people had slept just like this under the same stars, dreaming of gods and rivers and cats. Here's another light joke to keep you smirking. The Egyptians might have been onto something with their headrests. Maybe they were the first to invent sleep posture correction. You'd probably try it for a night, only to wake up grumbling and reaching for your trusty pillow. But hey, at least you'd have a story to tell, and maybe a newfound appreciation for modern bedding. And for a modern aside, today we've got sleep trackers, white noise machines, and apps that promise to lull you into dreamland with soothing sounds. But back then, it was simpler: a headrest, a prayer, and maybe a splash of ale if you were feeling fancy. You'd probably trade your gadgets for a night of Egyptian simplicity, especially if it meant fewer emails pinging to jolt you awake. For your third chuckle, cats were the ultimate sleep experts, napping up to 16 hours a day like it was their job. You'd trade your day job for that gig in a heartbeat, especially if it came with a built-in fan club and all the fish you could eat. But alas, you're stuck with your human sleep schedule, trying to scrape together 8 hours while your cat lounges on the windowsill, judging your life choices. So as you lie there tonight, your own bed feeling a little more luxurious by comparison, think of ancient Egypt, a land where sleep was sacred, dreams were divine, and even the simplest bedtime routine carried the weight of eternity. You might not have a headrest or a Bez statue, but you can still appreciate the legacy they left behind. Close your eyes, listen to the quiet, and let the ancient sands carry you into sleep. Sweet dreams, dreamer. You watch as your cat curls up on the windowsill, its body a perfect circle of fur, its breathing slow and steady. It's the picture of contentment, completely at ease in its slumber. You can't help but envy its ability to drift off so effortlessly, without a care in the world, no racing thoughts, no endless scrolling through your phone, just pure, unadulterated rest. In ancient Egypt, cats weren't just admired for their grace or their knack for catching mice. They were seen as masters of sleep creatures who could slip into the dream world with the ease of a pharaoh sliding into a golden sarcophagus. The Egyptians believed these furry companions had a special connection to the divine, their purring a soothing balm for the soul, a sound that could coax even the most restless mind into a peaceful slumber. So settle in, let your shoulders drop, and imagine yourself drifting back to a time when cats ruled the night, and maybe your sleep too. Picture yourself in an ancient Egyptian home, lying on a low bed, woven from palm fronds, the cool night air slipping through an open window. The room glows, faintly lit by a single oil lamp, its flame flickering like a sleepy heartbeat, casting soft shadows across the mud brick walls. At the foot of your bed, a cat is curled up, its fur brushing warm and soft against your feet. Its purring fills the air, a low, steady hum that seems to vibrate through the room, wrapping around you like a protective cocoon. Your muscles loosen, your breathing slows, and you feel the weight of the day melt away. This, you realize, is why the Egyptians held cats in such high regard, not just for their hunting prowess, but for their uncanny ability to bring peace to the darkness. That gentle rumble, that feline lullaby, was their gift to a world that craved rest. Cats first padded into human history in Egypt around 2000 BCE. Domesticated for a very practical reason, they were pest control superheroes. In a society that depended on grain stores to survive, rodents were the ultimate nemesis, gnawing through supplies, spreading chaos, basically the ancient equivalent of a Wi-Fi outage during a Netflix binge. Cats with their sharp claws and sharper instincts were the perfect fix. But it didn't take long for their role to evolve beyond mere utility. They became symbols of grace and protection tied to the goddess Bastet, often depicted as a lioness or a woman with a cat's head. Bastet watched over homes' fertility and childbirth, and her feline connection elevated cats to a sacred status. They weren't just mousers. They were guardians, their presence a quiet promise of safety, and maybe a good night's sleep. The Egyptians didn't stop at admiration. They got creative with their feline friends. They believed a cat's purr could do more than just sound cute. It could heal. Yes, heal. Ailments, stress, sleepless nights, all soothed by that rhythmic vibration. Some would even place a cat on their lap or chest, letting the purr work its magic, like an ancient spa treatment. Think of it as the original weighted blanket, but with more attitude and a tail that flicks in your face when you least expect it. It's a quirky little tidbit, isn't it? The idea that thousands of years ago, someone decided, you know what, this headache needs a cat vibe session. And honestly, they might have been onto something. Modern cat owners will swear by the calming power of a purring lap buddy, even if it comes with a side of shedding. Speaking of modern, there's still a debate simmering among scholars and scientists about whether cats actually help us sleep or if we're just suckers for their charm. Some studies point to the frequency of a cat's purr between 25 and 150 hertz as a potential stress buster. They say it can lower blood pressure, ease anxiety, and maybe even nudge you toward dreamland faster than a chamomile tea chaser. Others roll their eyes and call it a placebo, insisting it's all in our heads, a cozy illusion, born from our love for those whiskered faces. So is your cat a legit sleep aid or just a furry distraction? No one's quite sure, and frankly, you're probably too busy rubbing its belly to care. Let the experts argue. You've got napping to attempt. Now let's talk about the masters of napping themselves. Cats are sleep opportunists of the highest order. They'll doze off on a sunbeam, a pile of fresh laundry, or if you're lucky, your laptop keyboard right when you're mid-email. They don't need lavender diffusers or memory foam pillows. They just sleep clocking up to 16 hours a day, like it's their job. You, meanwhile, are over here adjusting your thermostat to exactly 68 degrees, fluffing your pillow for the 17th time, and praying the neighbor's dog doesn't start barking. Maybe we should take a cue from our feline overlords and learn to conk out wherever we land. Or maybe not, your boss might not appreciate you napping on the conference table. Here's the kicker, though. For all their sleep expertise, cats are also world-class disruptors of your rest. Just when you're finally sinking into that sweet, deep slumber, they decide it's time to channel their inner Olympian and sprint around the house or paw at your face because dawn is apparently breakfast o'clock. It's almost poetic in its irony. They're out here snoozing 16 hours straight, but the second you get comfy, they're like, sleep is for the weekendless, it's me, then it's an art form. You can't even be mad. It's too ridiculous. They're basically the roommates who throw parties while you're trying to study, except they're cuter. And you can't evict them. Ever catch your cat dreaming, though? Those little twitches the whisker flicks, the tiny paw kick sits, like they're starring in their own action movie. You're half convinced they're chasing dream mice across an endless desert, or plotting to overthrow the dog next door. Meanwhile, your dreams are a mess of showing up to work pantsless, or forgetting where you parked your chariot. What's going on in that furry head? Maybe they're reliving their glory days as Egyptian deities ruling over a kingdom of sunlit naps. Swap dreams with them for a night, and you might wake up with a newfound appreciation for napping or a sudden urge to knock stuff off shelves. On second thought, let's leave the mystery unsolved. Back in ancient Egypt, dreams weren't just random brain movies. They were messages from the gods' windows into the divine. Cats, with their quiet vigilance, were thought to guard that realm, keeping evil spirits at bay so you could sleep without fear of nightmares creeping in. Their presence in the home was a shield, a soft, purring barrier between you and the chaos of the night. Today, we might not call them divine, but there's still something magical about a cat stretched out beside you. The weight of them on your legs, the gentle rise and fall of their breathing, it's a tether to calm, a reminder that rest is possible even if they wake you up at 5 a.m. to prove they're still in charge. So tonight, as you climb into bed, maybe with your own cat sprawled across the covers, think about that ancient bond. From the sun-scorched banks of the Nile to your cozy, cat hair-dusted sheets, these creatures have been our companions, our protectors, and yes, our sleep coaches. They've purred their way through history, leaving a trail of drowsy humans in their wake. Sure, they're not gods, but they've got a knack for making the night feel a little softer, a little safer. Close your eyes, listen to the hum of the world fading out, and let the echo of that ancient purr carry you off to sleep. Sweet dreams, or at least as sweet as your cat will let them be. You're nestled in bed, the faint whir of your fan blending with the soft rustle of sheets as you shift to get comfy. Maybe you've got a candle flickering nearby, or the vague whiff of something calming like lavender or chamomile hanging in the air. Your modern life feels heavy, though, doesn't it? The day's noise clings to you, and sleep feels just out of reach. So let your mind wander somewhere ancient, somewhere warm and quiet. Picture yourself on the banks of the Nile, the sun dipping low, painting the sky with hues of amber and gold. The air smells of earth and papyrus, and in the distance, a temple bell chimes. Welcome to ancient Egypt, where sleep wasn't just a nap, it was a whole experience. And trust me, you'd fit right in. Here sleep is more than shutting your eyes. It's a sacred pause, a nightly pilgrimage to the divine. The Egyptians believed dreams were messages, little postcards from the gods, or peeks into what's coming next. You'd settle into bed each night, not just to recharge, but to listen to connect, maybe even to dodge a warning from the afterlife. And who's keeping watch over this holy snooze cats? Yep, those fluffy tyrants you secretly worship today were legit royalty back then. Linked to Bastet, goddess of home and protection, cats were the ultimate sleep buddies. Picture one curled at your feet, purring like a tiny engine chasing away bad vibes. You'd drift off easier, knowing something so fierce yet so soft had your back. Now you're probably wondering, did any of this ancient sleep magic stick around? Oh, it did more than you'd guess. Here's a mainstream historical fact to tuck you in. The Egyptians were sleep pioneers in their own right. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, scratched out around 1600 BCE, is one of the oldest medical texts we've got, and it mentions sleep disorders and remedies. They didn't have fancy sleep trackers or melatonin gummies, but they knew rest mattered. They'd brew herbal concoctions, whisper prayers, and lean on nature's rhythms to heal through sleep. You'd trade your phone's blue light for their starry skies in a heartbeat, wouldn't you? Well, maybe after one last scroll. Let's sprinkle in a quirky tidbit to lighten the mood. The Egyptians thought cats could shape your dreams. Sleep with a cat nearby, and you'd get sweet visions instead of nightmares thanks to their divine hotline to Bastet. Some folks even kept little cat statues by their beds, like ancient dream catchers with attitude. You'd smirk at that, but admit it. When your cat flops next to you, purring up a storm, don't you feel a little more at peace? Modern pet lovers might nod along. And honestly, those therapy animal trends owe a quiet nod to Egypt's feline obsession. But hold up, were they on to something real with the cat thing? That's where we hit an open scholarly debate. Science says a cat's purr vibrates at 25 to 150 hertz, a range that might actually calm your nerves or even help your bones heal wild, right? Some researchers swear it's legit, pointing to studies on stress relief. Others roll their eyes and say it's just the warm fuzzies you get from a pet, not some mystical sleep hack. You'd probably shrug either way, too busy scratching behind its ears to settle the score. Let the eggheads duke it out, your cat's already won the night. Back in Egypt, bedtime was a vibe. You'd wind down with rituals, lighting incense, maybe muttering a prayer to Bes, the stubby little god, with a lion's mane and a knack for scaring off evil. His goofy face might be etched into your headrest, glaring at nightmares, so you didn't have to. It's like an ancient security system, low tech but high charm. Here's a light joke for you. Bess was basically the first sleep consultant, but he didn't charge you an arm and a leg or a pyramid for the gig. You'd take his gruff protection over a white noise machine any day. Speaking of headrests, let's talk about how you'd sleep. Forget plush pillows. The Egyptians used curved wooden or stone headrests. Sounds like a neck ache waiting to happen, but in that desert heat, it kept your head cool and off the mat. You'd grimace at the thought, tossing it aside for your memory foam, but give them credit for ingenuity. Here's another light joke. Those headrests were the original cool side of the pillow, just without the fluff, and with a side of pharaoh swagger. Imagine the scene now. You're lying on a simple bed, maybe a reed mat, or a low frame, the night air brushing your skin. Outside, palm fronds sway, a dog barks faintly, and the Nile hums its endless song. The room's thick with myrrh or frankincense, curling up from a burner, to bless the space. Your cat's purring syncs with the quiet, and that headrest, weird as it is, feels oddly grounding. You're part of something ancient here, a thread in a tapestry of sleepers stretching back millennia. It's heavy but cozy like a weighted blanket made of history. And for your third chuckle, cats were the real MVPs, clocking 16 hours of shut-eye daily like it was their sacred duty. You'd kill for that schedule. Wouldn't you swap the 9 to 5 for a cat's life nap, snacks, and zero guilt? Too bad you're stuck adulting while they sprawl across your couch, silently mocking your hustle. So as you sink deeper into your own bed, tonight, let Egypt linger in your thoughts. A place where sleep was holy dreams, where portals and cats ruled the night. You might not have incense or a bez carving, but you've got their echoes, quiet rituals, a pet's comfort, a longing for rest that's as old as the pyramids. Close your eyes, feel the stillness, and let the ancient sands sweep you away. Good night, dreamer. You're lying in bed, the faint glow of your phone dimming as you set it aside, ready to let the day slip away. The room is quiet save for the soft hum of the world outside, a distant car, a breeze rustling the curtains. Your mind, though, is still buzzing, refusing to settle. So let it wander somewhere, far somewhere ancient. Picture yourself in a different time, a different place, where sleep was not just a necessity, but a ritual, a sacred pause. Welcome to the sleep customs of ancient civilizations, where rest was as much about the soul as it was about the body. You might find their ways strange, even amusing, but there's a certain charm in how they chase the same elusive thing you do every night, a good night's sleep. Let's start in ancient Egypt, where the night was a bridge to the divine. You're in a modest home, the air thick with the scent of myrrh, burning in a small clay pot by the bed. The room is dimly lit by an oil lamp, its flame flickering like a sleepy eye. Your bed is low to the ground, a simple wooden frame with woven reeds stretched across it. And instead of a pillow, there's a curved headrest made of stone or wood. It looks more like a piece of modern art than a sleep aid, and you can't help but wonder how anyone slept on it without waking up with a neck that screamed for a chiropractor. But in the stifling heat of the desert, this headrest had a purpose. It kept your head cool and elevated, allowing a whisper of air to circulate beneath you. You'd probably trade it for your fluffy pillow in a heartbeat, but you have to admire the ingenuity. Here's a light joke for you. Maybe the Egyptians were the first to invent the cool side of the pillow, just without the fluff and with a side of pharaoh swagger. Now, let's anchor this with a mainstream historical fact. The oldest known bed was discovered in an Egyptian tomb dating back to around 2600 BCE. It was a simple wooden frame with woven reeds, not unlike the one you're imagining. This bed wasn't just a piece of furniture. It was a symbol of status and a connection to the divine. Many Egyptian beds were inscribed with spells and prayers to protect the sleeper from evil spirits and ensure a peaceful journey through the night. You would probably appreciate a little magical backup as you drift off, especially if it meant fewer nightmares about missing deadlines or showing up to work in your pajamas. But sleep in ancient Egypt wasn't just about comfort. It was deeply tied to their beliefs about the afterlife. The Egyptians saw sleep as a temporary death, a nightly rehearsal for the soul's journey to the underworld. You'd lie down each night not just to rest, but to practice for eternity. Dreams were a big deal too. They were thought to be messages from the gods or glimpses into the future. If you dreamed of a cat, it was a sign of protection. If you dreamed of a crocodile well, you might want to avoid the river for a while. You'd probably wish for more cat dreams and fewer crocodile ones, especially if you were living near the Nile. Here's a quirky tidbit to make you smile. The Egyptians had a unique way of dealing with insomnia. They believed that placing a statue of the god Besa dwarf with a lion's mane by your bed could ward off bad dreams and bring peaceful sleep. Bes was the protector of households, and his fierce, funny face was thought to scare away any lurking spirits. You'd clutch your little Bez statue, whispering, "Please, little guy, make the bad dreams go away." It's like an ancient version of a security blanket. And while there's no proof it worked, it probably brought some comfort, kind of like your childhood teddy bear, but with more divine intervention. Now let's tackle an open scholarly debate that still has historians scratching their heads. Did the ancient Egyptians practice segmented sleep? Some researchers argue that, like many pre-industrial societies, the Egyptians slept in two shifts, going to bed at sunset, waking up in the middle of the night for a couple of hours, and then sleeping again until dawn. This biphasic sleep might have been a way to cope with the long, dark nights or to tend to household chores. Others say there's little evidence for it, and that the Egyptians, like us, aimed for one long stretch of sleep. You'd probably relate to the idea of waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, and wondering if you should just get up and make coffee. Maybe the Egyptians had the same debate, but with fewer screens to keep them awake. Let's drift to another ancient civilization, Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, where the night was a time of both fear and reverence. You're in a mud brick house, the air heavy with the scent of barley and damp earth. Your bed is a simple mat on the floor, and you're wrapped in a woolen blanket, the rough fibers scratching against your skin. The Mesopotamians believed that sleep was a gift from the gods, but it was also a vulnerable time when demons could slip into your dreams. To protect themselves, they'd recite prayers or place amulets under their beds. You'd probably appreciate a little extra protection too, especially if it meant fewer nightmares about that presentation you're dreading. Here's another light joke to keep you smirking. The Mesopotamians might have been onto something with their demon-repelling prayers. Maybe they were the first to invent sleep hygiene, just with more incantations and fewer lavender diffusers. You'd probably try it, if only for the novelty of chanting your way to sleep. And for a modern aside, today we've got sleep trackers, white noise machines, and apps that promise to lull you into dreamland with soothing sounds. But back then, it was simpler: a prayer, a mat, and maybe a splash of ale if you were feeling fancy. You'd probably trade your gadgets for a night of ancient simplicity, especially if it meant fewer emails pinging to jolt you awake. For your third chuckle cats were the ultimate sleep experts, napping up to 16 hours a day like it was their job. You'd trade your day job for that gig in a heartbeat, especially if it came with a built-in fan club and all the fish you could eat. But alas, you're stuck with your human sleep schedule, trying to scrape together 8 hours while your cat lounges on the windowsill, judging your life choices. So as you lie there tonight, your own bed feeling a little more luxurious by comparison, think of the ancient world. A time when sleep was sacred, dreams were divine, and even the simplest bedtime routine carried the weight of eternity. You might not have a headrest or a best statue, but you can still appreciate the legacy they left behind. Close your eyes, listen to the quiet, and let the ancient sands carry you into sleep. Sweet dreams, dreamer. You're lying in bed, the faint glow of your phone dimming as you finally set it aside. The room is quiet, save for the soft hum of the world outside, a distant car, a breeze rustling the curtains. Your mind, though, is still buzzing, refusing to settle. You shift under the covers, trying to find that perfect spot, but sleep feels just out of reach. Then you feel it, a gentle weight. At the foot of the bed, a soft purr vibrating through the blankets. Your cat has joined you, curling up in its favorite spot, its rhythmic breathing a quiet lullaby. You can't help but smile. Maybe this is what you need to finally drift off. Now imagine this scene thousands of years ago, in the warm, starlit nights of ancient Egypt. You're in a simple home, the air thick with the scent of incense, myrrh, or frankincense burning softly in a clay pot by the bed. The room is dimly lit by an oil lamp, its flame flickering like a sleepy eye. Your bed is low to the ground, a woven mat stretched over a wooden frame, and at your feet a cat is curled up, its fur warm against your skin. The Egyptians believed these creatures were more than just pets. They were guardians of the night, protectors against evil spirits, and their purring was thought to have healing powers, a soothing balm for the soul. You'd lie there, the cat's gentle hum sinking with your breath, feeling the weight of the day melt away. It's easy to see why they held cats in such high regard. There's something almost magical about their presence, especially in the quiet of the night. Here's a mainstream historical fact to anchor you. Cats were first domesticated in ancient Egypt around 2000 BCE, and their primary role was practical. They were pest control experts, keeping granaries free of rodents. But it didn't take long for their role to evolve. They became symbols of grace and protection linked to the goddess Bastet, who watched over homes and families. Cats were so revered that harming one, even accidentally, was a serious crime. You'd think twice before shooing a cat off your bed after all it might be a god in disguise judging your hospitality. Now, for a quirky tidbit, that might make you raise an eyebrow when a cat died. It wasn't just a sad day, it was a full-on mourning event. Families would shave their eyebrows in grief, and the cat would be mummified, wrapped in linen, and sometimes adorned with jewelry, or placed in a tiny sarcophagus. Archaeologists have uncovered entire cat cemeteries with thousands of mummified felines stacked like little linen-wrapped treasures. You'd probably think it's overkill, but to the Egyptians, it was a way to honor their furry friends in the afterlife. Imagine telling your vet, "Yeah, I'd like the deluxe mummification package for Mr. Whiskers, please." They'd think you'd lost your mind or found a new side hustle. But were cats truly the sleep aids the Egyptians believed them to be? That's where things get interesting, and historians and scientists still bicker over it. Some modern studies suggest that a cat's purr vibrating at 25 to 150 hertz can lower stress, reduce anxiety, and even promote healing. It's like nature's white noise machine, but with fur and attitude. Others argue it's all in our heads, a placebo effect, born from our love for these whiskered companions. You'd probably side with the It Works camp, especially on nights when your cat's purring is the only thing keeping you from tossing and turning. This open scholarly debate lingers like a cat stare, intense, unblinking, and a little unnerving. Were the Egyptians onto something? Or were they just really enthusiastic pet owners? You'll have to decide for yourself. But either way, their love for cats was legendary. Let's bring it back to the present. You're lying there, your cat now sprawled across your legs. It's purring a steady hum that seems to sync with your breath. The room is dark, the air cool, and for a moment you feel a connection to those ancient sleepers people who, like you, sought comfort in the night, who found solace in the presence of a feline friend. Maybe the Egyptians were right. Maybe there is something magical about cats, something that transcends time and culture. Or maybe it's just the simple joy of having a warm, purring companion by your side. Either way, as you close your eyes and let the gentle rhythm of your cat's purr carry you into sleep, you can't help but feel a little closer to the past, a little more at peace with the night. Here's a light joke for you. Cats were the original sleep experts. They'd nap for up to 16 hours a day. And the Egyptians probably thought, if it works for them, it'll work for us. You'd trade your day job for that gig in a heartbeat, especially if it came with a built-in fan club and all the fish you could eat. But alas, you're stuck with your human sleep schedule, trying to scrape together 8 hours while your cat lounges on the windowsill, judging your life choices. And for a modern aside, today we've got sleep trackers, white noise machines, and apps that promise to lull you into dreamland with soothing sounds. But back then, it was simpler: a cat a prayer, and maybe a splash of ale if you were feeling fancy. You'd probably trade your gadgets for a night of Egyptian simplicity, especially if it meant fewer emails pinging to jolt you awake. For your third chuckle, cats are still worshipped today, but now it's on the internet instead of in temples. You've seen the video scats in boxes, cats on Roombas, cats demanding belly rubs only to attack your hand. It's like we've traded incense and offerings for likes and shares, but the devotion, still there. Maybe the Egyptians were onto something and were just carrying on the tradition, one meme at a time. So as you lie there tonight, your cater, the memory of one curled nearby, think of ancient Egypt, a land where sleep was sacred, dreams were divine, and cats were the ultimate guardians of the night. You might not have a mummified cat under your bed, but you can still appreciate the legacy they left behind. Close your eyes, listen to the quiet, and let the ancient sands carry you into sleep. Sweet dreams, dreamer.